Welcome to the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world, 12 years strong. Got a great show coming to you this week. I'm Jeff Warren. I'm here with my good buddy, Eric Leonard, better known as Jackson Triple F. I should see you if you're watching YouTube. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. It's humid as shit.
Yes.
And I'm in a tank top and boxers. I'm not going to lie. It is really warm. It was like 98 and then it rained and it's just miserable. And I think this is the third time I'm doing the show in my undies, basically.
In underpants,
so,
yeah.
Yes.
Well, you're catching up to Len because I think he does them in his underpants constantly.
I think he does every show.
Yes, he does everything. Everything in life in underpants. It's mad when he has to leave the house. He's like, all right, I got to put on pants.
What a weird name, underpants.
Underpants, yes.
It's when we didn't really have vocabulary. It's like, well, I'm wearing pants. What's underneath these?
What about undergarments? What a terrible name.
And then somehow panties came about. I don't know. So.
Well, that's what I call mine, panties.
This is the hard-hitting stuff.
This really is hard-hitting content. Yeah, exactly, folks. Mid-August here. This is
exactly.
We got for you.
Not a ton going on.
Well, yes, we do have a good show. We're going to get into some Philly sports history. And then from there, we're going to dive into the Philadelphia Eagles. Boy, man, we had a big scare this week during the Eagles public practice at Lincoln Financial Field. Landon Dickerson going down with that knee injury. We're going to dive into that, what it means for the offensive line. And then from there, we're going to dive into a story that has been previewed on The Athletic. The Athletic's investigative team recently published a series of reports on stalking in sports figures being stalked, and what it means to them, their family, just what it means to us all being on the internet, social media, how that has really created this avenue of connectivity or perceived connectivity between certain individuals and celebrities and athletes as well. So from there, then we've got a ton of Phillies talk coming your way this week. What we're throwing down on the table is a great interview and discussion with our good friend, Justin Klugh from the Hittin Season podcast and Baseball Prospectus. He's going to join us for a great discussion about the Phillies as we're getting ready towards the end of this season here to start wrapping things up with this team, various storylines as the Phils are slated to make the postseason. I should really, knock on wood here with that, but let's just get started with this show here and get started with this week in Philly sports history. We've got a few doozies here. The first one being August 13th, 1972. You had an extraordinary spectacle that took place at Veterans Stadium. Carl Wallenda. Yeah, do you all know who Carl Wallenda is? He was the renowned tightrope walker. He performed a very daring walk across the stadium's center, suspended high above the field. A very unforgettable moment in Philly sports history. And then from there, we're going to move on to August 15th, 1990. That is where Terry Mulholland, Phillies pitcher Terry Mulholland, threw a dominant no-hitter and a 6-0 victory over the San Francisco Giants. It was the eighth no-hitter of that Major League Baseball season, which set a modern record at that point. But it was also the first 9-inning no-hitter by a Phillies pitcher in Philadelphia, and the very first one at Veterans Stadium. Then moving on, August 10th, Terrell Owens, his infamous, driveway interview, August 10th, 2005. He staged one of the most bizarre and emblematic moments in Philly sports culture. He conducted a shirtless sit-up interview right in his driveway in the midst of the Eagles locker room drama that was going on. He was just doing all those sit-ups in his driveway. What an image.
And curls, answering reporter questions at one point, yes.
Yes, absolutely. And then finally, from my standpoint here, in terms of Philly sports history, August 13th, 2009, the Philadelphia Eagles made a very bold and controversial move by signing quarterback Michael Vick, coming off of his incarceration amidst a complete national debacle in case where he had been killing dogs, and stakes were pretty high for the Eagles in terms of that signing. And that was August 13th, 2009. Man, I can't believe, time really flies here. But did you have anything in sports history here? Anything you wanted to reflect on?
Let me just a couple comments. The Carl Wallenda thing, just I really miss the days when Major League Baseball would do what the minor leagues do now
Yeah.
for entertainment.
Just
Like,
bringing out some bizarre stuff.
yeah, like I love going to the Harrisburg Senator games and watching the dogs run around with the monkeys on their backs,
Yeah.
like they're horses. It's a
Yes.
blast. I love it. Um, Personal story about the Mulholland 1990 no hitter, the 15th. Watched that game on TV, and then my dad took me the next day to the game. It was on a
Ooh.
Sunday because it was my birthday. It was my 14th birthday.
Oh, somebody's got a birthday coming up.
Yes. But watched that no hitter, and then the next day I went to the game, and Von Hayes won the game in the bottom of the ninth
Wow.
against the Giants. I met Roger McDowell. He signed a baseball for me.
Nice.
Very memorable birthday.
Nice.
Yeah, and T.O. in the driveway. What a nightmare. I'm gonna focus on another T.O. highlight because
Ooh.
that was the end of the Eagles run there for a while until like
Yeah.
08. But August 12th, 2004, he actually he debuted with the Eagles in preseason against the Ravens, who actually tried to sign him, if you remember, or trade
Yes.
for him, and it fell through. And first play of the game on offense, McNabb hits him for 80 yards,
Yep.
right in the numbers.
Yep.
And he does the first wave thing.
Yes.
And I was just like, like pray. Like, I was just so happy. I was like, my God, we finally have a receiver. This is going to be so much fun this year.
It wasn't Todd Pinkston or James Thrash.
James Thrash, yeah.
Yes.
I'm not going to comment on Michael Vick. I just think it was funny. Your comment, you're like, he came in like with some controversy. He killed dogs.
Yes.
Yeah, a little controversial.
A little bit, yes.
Went to prison for it, yeah. A little bit.
Oh my gosh.
But you did not mention today is Bobby Clark's 76th birthday.
Oh,
yes.
All right. Oh, I missed that one.
I actually
did some reminding us.
I went out in the Google.
Yes.
And it hit me with, hey, non-Flyers fan, it's Bobby Clark's birthday. Just remind, and yeah, I was like, so 76, my parents' age.
Wow. I'm glad you reminded us of that. That's an important one.
That's how long it's been since they won the cup. I'm sorry to bring it up, but like I saw the age. I'm like, oh my God, like that's my dad who won the last. Yes. So yeah,
we're never gonna win one. No, the rebuild's going all right. We got Flyers talk coming your way at some point down the road here. So we're gonna be getting into them. Yeah.
Was that from 2014? That comment or 2018?
It's from every year.
2021.
It's every year at this point. Yes. Yeah. Well, let's dive into some Eagles talk here. We're in the midst of training camp. Birds and us fans, we had a big scare at the Eagles public training camp practice this past week when Pro Bowl left guard Landon Dickerson went down with a knee injury. And while it's a meniscus injury, it shouldn't prevent him from starting week 1 from what we know at this point, Eric. I mean, it's still concerning given how this offensive line needs to perform. I mean, if the offense is going to see any sort of success this season, and you have a backup in Brett Toth who stepped in, and he honestly didn't. He didn't have a great practice. You know, when he was playing, because you know they're working in conjunction and practicing with the Cleveland Browns before this upcoming their second preseason game. Brett Toth did not have a great outing at all, and it's like, oh my gosh, we've got this weak link, and we've got, even though the Eagles have depth, we've got this guy who's now been on the team for quite some time, and Brett Toth, he's been there now for the past few years, and he's been serviceable, but man, I mean, Landon Dickerson needs to stay healthier. This offense is not going to be able to perform the way that it needs to perform, because you look at that left side of the line, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, they are a wall. They're like a wall of death, whether it's in pass protection or whether it's run blocking and Saquon's right behind them or whoever. Will Shipley is right behind them. Losing Landon Dickerson, man, dude, I genuinely almost had a heart attack when I was reading Twitter when he went down and he was on the field. Like, we can't lose these guys during the season or things could go rough.
Yeah. And I mean, my first thought was like, so we had pretty good injury health last year.
Yes.
And, you know, it's bound to turn a little bit. And when I saw it was him, you know, at first I was like, oh, you know, it's Dickerson. I thought about him like Dickerson's kind of taken that mantle up of, you know, being that complete asshole on the
Yeah.
offensive line, and
Yeah.
all the good Eagles team. John Runyon was that guy back in the day.
Even
And
Kelsey to a certain extent, you know what I
yeah,
mean? He's kind of like taking that from Jason Kelsey.
I always thought it was kind of Kelsey and Johnson Lane,
Yeah.
kind of combo. Jordan Mailata is he's tough on the field, but he's kind of a teddy bear, off the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Landon Dickerson to me was like, if you saw his like pregame speeches to the other offensive linemen, he was just like, let's go murder these dudes. Let's just wash them.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I thought about that. I thought it was him. I'm like, man, that's one guy we can't miss. That he's the one. He kind of gels that team together. I know the skilled position players love him because he has that attitude. And just watching the Eagles last year, like I love that we have those Tiffany skill players, like the both receivers, Saquon. But the whole reason they won last year was the defensive offensive lines. Like that was the whole thing behind it. And he was the one guy I was like, man, my first thought was, okay. But I was like, no. When I heard it was just a meniscus, I get the Embiid thing going in my head, and I get a little scared because I'm like, is he going to do the 6-month thing, or is it just an injured meniscus? So I hope it's not a ongoing thing throughout the year. I hope it's if he has to miss week 1, I'm okay with that. Like let that thing heal to the point where it's not going to be a lingering thing, like much like Aaron Nola, he had a lingering injury and then eventually wound up missing like 2 to 3 months. So a little scary. I'm hoping that's like the last thing from preseason. Is there anything worse than preseason injuries?
Oh, it is.
Like, look at the Chargers. They just signed that guy, their left tackle, to this monster deal. He's like the highest paid, and then he goes down like a week later. It's like your whole season's like tanked before your first. It just sucks.
Yes. I was on the Opposition Territory pod this week talking about where the Indianapolis Colts are going to go. That's a team and an organization that they're just looking to get some sort of momentum. But what happens? They have like 3 cornerbacks that went down. Like their defense is one of the worst in the league. And then they have this hope that they get some defensive players in free agency. They've got some draft picks looking to make their mark. And all of a sudden 3 cornerbacks going down right off the bat. Like, how do you get out from under that? And like, I think to myself with this Landon Dickerson situation, this meniscus injury, might he be good for the first 10 weeks of the season? Yeah. And the Eagles athletic, or I should say their health team is going to have to they're going to have to be stellar with him this year, because maybe week 14, 16, maybe things aren't feeling all that great. And then you got the expectations of a playoff run as well. Is this team a dynasty? Those questions are lingering in people's minds as well. Yeah. It's tough to do with a meniscus injury here.
That's why, like, let it heal early and have him down the stretch just in case. You know what I mean? Like that, I think that'd be the play. And plus, you would see what you have with Toth going forward, right? Like, let him play the first 2 weeks, and if he sucks, then okay, all right, we understand the timeline of this injury now. Throwing him to the Wolves week 15 against against the Cums, and you're like in a tight race for first place, like that's not the place to throw him in. I think this is it now, because you're like, the first 2 games are what? Dallas, who I'm not scared of whatsoever.
Yep. Week 2 is the Chiefs,
and Chiefs are going to win that game. Everyone just be ready for it. They're going to come out. Yeah. It's just going to happen, and the refs will be in the bag for them because it's just a revenge game. And kind of like just win that Cowboys game and let the Toth kid play. Toth, whatever his name is.
Toth.
And Toth. But it's Toth, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is America. It's Toth.
Could be Toth.
I don't know. I just think that's the way to go. And I hope this is the last time we're talking about preseason injuries, because that's when things get bad. So.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. Well, folks, we're getting ready to take our first break here. But first and foremost, if you are new to watching the show on YouTube, you can like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate that. Hit that like button. We'd very much appreciate it. And also our social media sites. We are up on the Twitter/X at Philadelphia PSD. You can follow Eric at Brick Pollitt, me at Jeffrey_Warren. We're over on Instagram as well. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see all these social media sites and our handles here: Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky. I'm over on TikTok at Mr. Jeff Warren. You're going to get a lot more than sports over there. I can tell you that for sure. I can assure you that. So we are going to take a break here. And when we get back, I'm going to dive into the threat of stalkers in the world of sports and also a ton of Phillies talk. Stick with us. All right, we are back. Great to be in your ears. It's great to be on your screens right now if you're watching on YouTube. Wanted to get into the threat of stalkers in the world of sports because The Athletic recently came out with a series of reports on stalking in sports. Their investigative team there did a pretty interesting series, and we wanted to give our thoughts on how the internet and folks feeling like they are close to athletes, close to celebrities, quite frankly, close to even, political folks, people who are, well known in their communities or their states, or they're a member of Congress or whatever the course or whatever the case is. But in terms of sports here, a lot of people, because of social media, feel like they're close to people when they're really not. Social media has really changed the world in that regard. Interestingly enough, the investigative team at The Athletic talked about a bunch of different examples over the years, Eric, that have taken place. One with a woman stalking NFL wide receiver TJ Houshmandzadeh to the point where she changed her last name to Houshmandzadeh and used it to gain entry into the gated community where he and his family lived. Last year, a 40-year-old man was arrested after professing his love for Dallas Wings rookie Paige Buchers, who was playing at UConn. The man said he was going to propose to her and would choose to die if he could not be with her. We have also had some folks have heard about Aaron Donald. In May, a Los Angeles court granted him and his family a 5-year restraining order against a woman named Janelle Anwar, who Donald said had been harassing him, had been harassing his family since 2020. This woman was sending multiple packages to his home. There were threats against his son's life. And it's really incredible where the internet has taken us. It's given us some great things over the years, and it's given some awful things. We've all heard about the Caitlin Clark stalking situation. Michael Lewis, 55, who was arrested in January in Indianapolis. He sent Clark more than 800 threatening and sexually explicit messages over the course of a month. This stuff happens because of social media, because people feel like they're close to athletes, they're close to celebrities, because that's what professional athletics are. These folks become celebrities, and it's pretty disturbing, and it's not slowing down anytime soon, Eric. It's not slowing down at all. But I thought it was an interesting story, and to see where this is going. I hope it raises some awareness for people to just knock it the fuck off. How about that? But then again, people have mental illnesses, so they're probably not going to be able to knock it the fuck off sometimes.
Yeah, and a bunch of thoughts on this. By the way,
there's tons. Yes.
The craziest part of the Aaron Donald one was the woman wound up filing for divorce from him, even though they've never met.
Yes. Weren't married.
Throw that one out of court right away. But that is bonkers behavior.
I want a divorce.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's all, yeah. I've never met you before. But so my first thought was, okay, you talk about the social media aspect of it, right? And I've heard that a lot of pro sport leagues now, NBA, NFL, all of them, when players get drafted or join new teams, they actually put them through like social media training now.
Yeah.
On top of like financial, like how to manage your finances, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the social media one's big, and it's to try and temper, the kind of the behavior that Kevin Durant does, right? Like I read the story, and my first thought was like, how does Kevin Durant not have at least 2 or 3 stalkers at this point that have tried to enter his house?
Yes,
because he is one of the most responsive, agitated. Like he will go after a guy with 20 followers.
Yes,
who's like, yeah, your field goal percentage sucked last year, and he'll be like, oh yeah, dog, and he'll just like lay out his entire stats over the past 3 years off Basketball Reference, and you're like, KD, you don't have to do this. You're one of the top 15 players of all time. Like, but someone like him should probably dial it back a little bit. He obviously doesn't give a shit, but like,
Right.
and I'm not blaming the athletes. I just think that, like, again,
You can't
in
engage with
today's
certain people.
in today's social media age, everyone's going crazy. Everything's internal. Like, people sit at home and they don't leave their house, and like, I think this athlete loves me. It's not just athletes, it's actors, it's singers too.
Yeah.
But then you also have to like realize, like, there's been nutty, crazy people have been stalking people for years.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
the guy who shot John Lennon, the guy who shot I just had in my head Ronald Reagan,
Yeah.
to impress Jodie Foster. Like, this has been ongoing well before the internet even existed.
Yep.
Now it just makes it makes getting to those people, like the story of Mark David Chapman, I think, is one that shot Lennon. The story of him getting to John Lennon in New York City,
Yeah.
like on a bus and all this kind of stuff. Now you can just like tweet at the person,
Yeah.
and start kind of a dialogue, hope maybe, and then go from there. I think the social media aspect makes it easier to stalk people, but I don't think it creates the want to stalk more, because we're always going to have people that are mentally ill and are going to like focus on. Yeah.
You make a good point there, but I do think when celebrities or athletes, if and when they are shooting some video in their house or in their backyard, at their pool, in their front yard, wherever, with their family, their kids, their wife, whoever, there is a certain intimacy that comes with that, where people may feel watching it that they are a part of it. And I'm not saying it's right by any stretch, but no, we are not celebrities by any stretch on this podcast show at all. And what I do in my life from an electoral and political standpoint, there is no celebrity, but I've had a number of threats over the years with certain things. My family hasn't been threatened. I've certainly been threatened for various reasons, whether it's certain votes that I take or just because I am who I am. And it's a little disconcerting because those people have seen me online, and that's where they have, quote, gotten to know me. You know what I mean? And it's like, you start shooting videos in your house and on vacation or wherever. If you're a celebrity, if you're a professional sports individual, and you're like, if you're like KD and you are so good at what you do, and you start letting people in, it becomes a real slippery slope.
Well, some of the threats to you were warranted. I'm just kidding.
All of them. I didn't say they weren't.
In KD's defense, like, he might not have stalkers because he's so open with people.
Yeah,
like a guy trash talks him online, or a woman trash talk. I've seen that before. He comes right back at him. It's like, well, I'm a normal person kind of thing.
He kind of just goes, yeah, go fuck yourself. I'm gonna kick your ass.
Pretty much. Like I've seen footage of him at concerts, like just smoking blunt after blunt. and it's like, well, that normalizes him a little bit, right?
Yeah.
There's no good answer. I would advise. I've never seen a video in KD's house.
Yeah.
I would advise athletes or all celebrities not to film in your home.
Yeah.
Never ever whatsoever. But this is never going to go away. I just think it's been around for a long time. There's always going to be lonely people out there that can't, or lonely, mentally ill, possibly, and just it's easier to focus on a celebrity than your neighbor, because your neighbor's boring. That makes sense.
Exactly.
Like that person's life is already boring.
Yes.
And it's like, why would I focus on the old lady next door with no family? I'd rather focus on, George Clooney. That's how old I am. I just said the actor's name, right? Yes. But like, I don't know. I just think like it's just never going to go away. But I do think celebrities or whatever online, like, just dial it back. And I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying, like, there's crazy fucking people out there.
Absolutely. We'd like to get your thoughts on this, folks. Philadelphia Sports Table at gmail.com. This is one of those stories that it takes some thought and some depth, and we'd love to hear from you. Shoot us off an email here, and we'd love to respond to you here on the show. Again, Philadelphia Sports Table at gmail.com. So let's move along and get into some Phillies talk here, because the Phillies pitching situation, which really has been this team's bread and butter all season long. We've seen the good, we've seen the bad, and right here in mid-August, there's definitely good coming out of the bullpen. They finally have an actual closer with Johan Duran. He has been dominant. We actually have a closer. This team has a closer with a special role, a specific role. I mean, we've been waiting for it for years. I'm sure I'm going to be getting into it with Justin Klugh coming up in our interview. But on the flip side of that, we've got the quote bad, the challenge here at this point, which really is Ranger Suarez continuing to struggle here. And I'm getting very concerned with him because there were such high hopes for what he was going to be. And let's get into him last. Let's talk about the good stuff first, because, the real question is, will, Johan Duran, will he actually be the answer to what the Phillies have been needing in this bullpen? So far, so good here. I mean, the immense pressure that he is going to be under when the Major League Baseball postseason begins, I think is going to be pretty significant. But since the trade deadline, I mean, the Phillies have been, Eric, one of the best teams in baseball, and they are starting to look like a complete group. And yes, there are hiccups, some ups and downs tonight, losing a real terrible game to the Reds. But, they are atop of the NL East at this point. For a good part of the season, this team has been at the top of the NL East here. Now they finally have a closer on this team who is dominant. It's such good news. I love it.
There's no downside. And what they gave up for him is like peanuts.
Yes.
Just the way he's performed. If you watch his stuff, it's like we kind of ripped the Twins off. I'm not sure what's going on with their leadership. And like they were trying to sell the team 1 point. Something's going on there, but I was glad to take advantage of them. And
I think they were smoking a blunt with KD at a concert or something when they made the deal.
Yeah. But man, I haven't felt this good about a closer since Lidge.
Yes.
In
yes.
08. I know Papelbon made that run in like what 2010 or whatever it was. But I never felt like super confident when he came in. When Lidge in 08, when we just ran the table, it was like, this guy's never going to miss. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
Duran has that feel. He really does. And it's not like Lidge had his 2 pitches. He had the sinker and the fastball.
Yep.
And, Duran has this knuckle curve that hits the back foot of a left-hander batter twice against the Reds. And he did in the game before that. Like, I'm like, this guy's insane.
Yes.
Against the Rangers, he did it twice. And I haven't seen that on a Phillies team since probably Lidge. So, and then you also have Alvarado coming back. So you have 2 legit closers now for the rest of the regular season once he comes back. If Alvarado's, if he worked out and stuff. But that is the good. The other good, Schwarber still NL MVP candidate. Like just Harper's getting going again, right?
Trey Turner is so ridiculously consistent right now, which they need.
Trey Turner's fantastic. You're starting pitching, your top 2 guys, Wheeler and Sanchez. I mean, Sanchez was a little shaky tonight, but he was awesome the night his last start. That's the good. Like you have sometimes in the playoffs, you just have a great 1-2. You're in good shape. Now the bad.
Yes, let's get into that here. Dude, Ranger Suarez, holy freaking crap. His ERA since the All-Star break has jumped to 6.59 after last year, 5.65 second half of the season. The year prior to that, 2023, 4.57. So the second half of these seasons for Ranger Suarez have absolutely been crap. He has been crap in the bed, and it's getting worse year after year. This is the 3rd year in a row here. There's some, I don't know if there's something specific going on, because look, we know that he's been battling injury the past couple seasons here. Who the hell knows if something is going on now? But this is the quote bad here.
Yeah, I looked at his stats post All-Star game the past 3 years, and
not good.
Very eye-opening, very scary.
Yeah.
And it did make me think, like, is he a first half guy? Like we've seen that where guys just, but that's usually younger players. That's the kind of bothersome thing to me.
You've seen it with Aaron Nola over the years too.
Yeah. But I'll ask you, I thought about this. Is Suarez an issue of just not being in shape? Like, does he wear down? That's a very good
point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Like I've heard like, okay, he has a hard time staying healthy the past 2 years. Well, if he was in better shape, like
Right.
Sanchez or Wheeler, would he stay healthier and would he have more endurance going, forward in the season? Because 1 year is like, oh, okay, we'll see. 2 years, 3 years is a pattern. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
Ranger, what's going on, dude? Like,
Yeah.
you can't wear down. Wear down in the beginning of the year, not the end. So obviously, we have some kind of. I think he has some kind of like physical,
Just
issue,
physical
maybe.
limitations
Yeah,
here at this
correct.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or maybe just get in shape.
Yes.
He's kind of doughy. Let's just say it right out loud.
Yes. Looks a little like me. Oh.
I would love to see you trying to throw a ball like full blast.
Oh, it'd be horrendous. It really would. It'd be like the time Len tried to do it at his last time he was ever playing fantasy football with us. He's over at the old house and he just threw it right into the ground.
I threw a rocket into the chair, hit the target, knocked it over, and then Len stepped up. And he wound up and it went 20 feet, bam, in the grass. Killed a groundhog, I swear to God.
Yes.
A worm burner, like McNabb.
Worm burner, yes. Yeah. Oh, my God. Well, buddy, before I let you go, do you have anything else for this Phillies team here? I mean, look, I'm confident. Overall, I'm confident at where they're at. There's going to be some ups and downs, but they're one of the best teams in baseball. And I'm going to talk to Justin Klugh in a little bit here about what Dave Dombrowski has meant to this organization, getting it to a point of where this team is relevant year after year. It'll be interesting to hear what Justin says, but I think there's something to be said for where this team was about a decade ago and where they are right now. I feel good this season about their chances in the postseason of not getting knocked out in the first or second round.
Well, I just have to compare ourselves to other teams right now, right? Like that are at top of the NL.
Yeah.
Like forget about the Brewers. They're hot as hell. They won 12 straight. Their starting pitching is bonkers. They've averaged 8.5 runs per game the past 12 wins. We're not competing with that. It's fine.
Yeah.
The Mets are in second place. Their starting pitching is in shambles. Okay. Like we at least have two aces, and we're talking about Ranger Suarez and Nola coming back. Maybe Painter comes up. The Mets starting pitching is disastrous.
Yeah.
So is the Dodgers. Their starting pitching is horrendous. The Cubs isn't that great. So like we talked about before the show, like, do we get hot too soon? Because we're paranoid, and it's just like, tonight's loss was not great, but you're going into Washington now for like 4 straight games.
Yeah,
this is a team you should pounce, and
absolutely.
like you go right back up, and like you should come out of this weekend being up like 6 games on the Mets. That's and if you're not, then we'll have a talk next week. Well, no, I won't be on the show next week, but
right. Look, I know somebody's going to be taking their daughter to college. My goodness.
Oh, God.
Really quick though about the Mets, because like before the season started, I'm thinking to myself, they got the biggest free agent signing before the season started, and Juan Soto. And I'm like, man, this team is it's what the team needed in order to get over that hump. And guess what? No, I was wrong. Like in my brain, I was wrong. The Mets are where they're at right now. Juan Soto hasn't been that guy. He's a great baseball player, but he hasn't been that guy to say, you know what, I'm going to carry the team on my shoulders right now while the pitching is struggling. I don't know, man. There are certain storylines and certain aspects of baseball where you can reflect on things. Hindsight's 2020, but the best baseball player in the world may not actually get you to the promised land.
No, the good thing with the Phillies is they have longtime veterans that have been on this team for a long time.
Yeah,
and the Mets don't quite have that. Pete Alonso is hot as hell right now. Like he's the one dude I am really scared with on that team. But like Lindor sucks right now, and Soto's his first year, and like who knows what's going to happen with him in the playoffs? Like, have we seen him do anything in the play? Well, he did for the Nationals, right? But the Phillies have been there before, and that's the one thing I'm going to hold on to. Like they have done this now. How many years in a row? I don't want them to just get in like in the past. It was like, oh, we'll just get in, we'll figure it out. Like I want them to get in, like maybe have a bye. Like we don't have to like sneak in and play game after game after game. Like give our guys a rest because we are getting older.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely capable of that.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Before we take a break here, again, if you're liking what you are hearing here and on YouTube, watching, like and subscribe to us. We'd appreciate that for sure. And if you're listening on any other audio platform, feel free to follow and subscribe as well. PhiladelphiaSportsTable.com. That's where our website is. And that's what our website is. We got all of our shows over there. Any final words, buddy, before we head to break here and before I let you go?
It's 11:30 at night. I'm old.
All right. Hopefully
Yep.
talk to you in a couple weeks, man. So, all right.
Yeah.
I know you won't be on the show next week. My best to you, your family, your daughter, as you're sending her off to college. It's a bittersweet moment. I remember when she was a little baby at my wedding. My goodness. Gosh.
Like that big.
Yes.
Like your wedding.
That's it. That's it. All right, buddy. We're going to take a quick break, everybody. When we get back, Justin Klugh from the Hittin Season podcast and Baseball Prospectus is going to be joining us. And joining us this week as he has taken a swig of his, what I assume is a delicious beer, we have from Baseball Prospectus and also the Hittin Season podcast to get into this Philadelphia Phillies team, where they're at in this season, as we are going to be looking towards this postseason. We've got our good friend Justin Klugh. Buddy, how are you, my friend?
Always down for a drink at a very responsible time of day, which this is. This is we're of course recording it in the early evening, post work hours.
Yes,
a completely normal time.
As the sun is shining through the window here.
The late morning sun shines through the window. But hey, Philly's got you in a lunch beer kind of mood, so I think it's only appropriate.
As we are recording this here on Tuesday, August 12th, the Philadelphia Phillies are 6 games up on the New York Mets. They've won 4 straight. This will be uploaded on Thursday, as many of our listeners know, whether it's on YouTube and whether it's through different audio platforms as well, Justin. But I wanted to first address something that, it's really, as a fan, I am discombobulated. I'm baffled. It's mind-boggling about this particular theme and where certain sectors and frustrations of parts of this fan base, this Phillies fan base, have been over this season. I'm just absolutely astonished that there are Phillies fans who believe this team doesn't have what it takes to win throughout the postseason and possibly get to the World Series because of how one Dave Dombrowski has handled this past offseason with acquisitions and made the decision to, quote, run it back with much of the same roster as last year. Again, it's like, it bothers me. It really does. Certain sectors of this fan base. I know it bothers you and, a lot of other folks out there who try to be logical Philadelphia Phillies fans. I mean, sure, the Max Kepler signing wasn't great. We see where Jeff Hoffman is at right now with a 4.50 ERA. A lot of folks mid-season here are saying, hey, we should have kept Jeff Hoffman. Hindsight's always 20/20, of course. Phillies outfield has certainly struggled in various ways, yet Dave Dombrowski, he trades for Johan Duran. And I think at some point, this fan base, we have to give Dave Dombrowski credit for when he makes a move that works out, just like we criticize the moves that don't pan out. So that's a long diatribe, buddy, because I'm wondering, how would you grade? How would you grade Dave Dombrowski and how he's really constructed this roster, given where this team is at right now? And why would you give him that grade?
First of all, I'd like to address the previous statement you made, which was you have to give him credit, or you don't have to do any of that for anybody.
Yes.
With any manager, with any GM, owner, executive, whatever. You don't have to do that. And I'm not saying that to argue with you or refute your point. It's just the general idea that you don't have to take the full scope of someone's output, especially like a GM, in order to, if you hated something they did, even though there's a bunch of other cool stuff they did, if that was their defining trait to you, I mean, you might get in some arguments with some people, but you can just feel that way. I mean, I know Matt Klugh has undergone a bit of a, what's it called? People have rehabilitated his image.
Yes.
He oversaw some Phillies teams that didn't go to the playoffs, so he gets this bad reputation. But you give him credit for Zach Wheeler, you give him credit for some other signings and he was good at picking up bats mid-season, something that Dave Dombrowski hasn't been as fortunate at.
Exactly.
Does that mean Matt Klugh is a better GM than Dave Dombrowski? No, it does not. It does not mean that. So, you can look at the good and the bad if you want to, but you don't have to give people credit if for the good stuff if you feel like the worst things they did were more definitive of their time here. And
Yep.
in general, if they made you feel the strongest way. And that's kind of to bring it back to Dombrowski, the argument here that Dombrowski is, as we all know, going to go into the Hall of Fame someday as an executive. So he's already reached that tier of a guy who knows how to put together a championship baseball team. And he came here with that reputation that he was going to blow up a farm system and get you a bunch of talent. There's good parts to that and there's bad parts to that, and they're pretty obvious what they are. But the Phillies put him in an interesting spot because they didn't really have the farm system to blow up, and they still don't.
Right.
And we saw that at this trade deadline. Dombrowski said, there's multiple guys, I believe he said, that we've told, don't expect to go anywhere. And you got to assume that was like Andrew Painter, Justin Crawford, Aiden Miller, like that level of guy at the very least. And that's from a farm system that's like mid at best and has been mid at best for a long time. So what does that leave you to trade? And that's kind of the hand he had at the trade deadline, where it was like, all right, we have some prospects teams are going to want. It's probably enough to get one of the guys we need, and we need more than one guy. So it's going to take some creativity. So my point is, you trust a guy like Dave Dombrowski with the pedigree he's got and the reputation he's got to get creative. You trust him to do that, and you should. That's what he's here to do. However, that creativity is, it can always be a roll of the dice. It's a gamble, and gambles don't always pay off. It's what makes them gambles. So that's what you saw in this last offseason. So it's not so much like I disagree with the acquisitions of guys like Jordan Romano and Max Kepler, or even Jesus Luzardo, if you choose to be against that. Though I guess you really don't have an argument for that at this point, despite the struggles he has had. The point is more that you disagree with the approach that the Phillies took, that they weren't going to do something like blow up their farm system or sign a bunch of big name guys, Dave Dombrowski, classic Dave Dombrowski style. So I guess my grading of Dombrowski comes down to that approach, which I want to trust him to do that. But clearly, if a guy like Dave Dombrowski, with everything he has in his past, can come up with, Max Kepler or Jordan Romano, come up with, let's get guys cheaper who are coming off injuries or are bounce back candidates, and see when that pays off, you look like a genius. But if it doesn't, you can look any variety of negative things: lazy, cheap, disinterested, uninspired. I mean, I felt that way about the Harrison Bader deal, but that has really started to feel better as the days have gone by, that one guy can really impact a whole section of your team. As we saw with Duran in the bullpen, I think Bader is going to have similar, if not as to high a level, but similar impact on the outfield. That's been a problem for the Phillies. So all that to say, in general, I'm giving Dave Dombrowski a B, because I was
going to say B plus. Yeah, I was going to say B plus. Yep.
His decisions have not always paid off, and I haven't really appreciated the approach that has led to those decisions. Because when you're trying to be creative, you're playing in a pool where the likelihood that something like signing Austin Hayes to boost your offense is going to pay off, and it super could have.
Right.
But then, somebody gets a kidney infection and they're out for a bunch of time, and they just don't pay off. Whit Merrifield, that could have paid off. There's no reason that definitely wasn't going to pay off. It definitely didn't pay off, but it definitely could have. And and that's the risk you take, versus signing Trey Turner, which is this is probably going to pay off. So you don't have to worry as much. And so, I give him a B, because the approach hasn't always been something I agreed with, but the results have generally been positive. And I trust him to continue making those decisions, because in some cases the Phillies don't have any other choice.
Right. I go to the B plus area, because from a more macro standpoint of this Phillies team now, and it's not always going to be like this, but they are extremely relevant within the National League, and they are going to remain relevant in the National League. My God, I keep going back to where this team was 10 years ago, for God's sake, and it was just an abomination. And now this team is relevant. Yes, they are spending money. They should be spending money on players like Trey Turner, like Bryce Harper. They're probably going to end up paying Kyle Schwarber, and rightfully so, given this season that he has had. So that's why I'm bumping it up to the B plus, just because of the relevance of what this Phillies team is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of Dombrowski's tenure is going to, I've been saying it this whole time. It's not just about winning the World Series and with this team and this group and this window. It's about elevating the franchise as a
Yeah.
whole. So that the next time they don't make the playoffs, it's not part of a 12-year drought where they don't make the playoffs. It's part of a maybe 2-3 season hiccup where, like, okay, we're retooling, we're figuring out what we have, we're making deals, building around the core that we're trying to develop, and oh look, it's
Yep.
here, and we're ready to go back, and we're going to snag a wild card spot again. So that's also a big part of this Dombrowski era that, the future will let us know if that was successful. But I do think that's a goal of the Phillies, to not be that team anymore that misses the playoffs for 20 years.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, as we're moving along with the conversation here, last week on the show, Justin, my co-host and I, we talked about whether or not the Phillies bats were heating up a little too early before the postseason and how that could potentially be a concern for us fans. Then again, this team, they need to win games. They need to win games. They need to produce offensively. And they're, again, like I mentioned at the top, I mean, they're currently 6 games up on the Mets in the NL East at this point. Wins are definitely important here. Do you think this team and their bats, the offense, do you buy into that they're getting hot too early, that the bats are way too hot right now, and you have any concern about what we may see in the postseason? What are your thoughts here? Oh, you're stressed.
Look, I get what you're saying. This team,
Yes.
The biggest thing you could say about this team, especially the offense, is that it is inconsistent.
Yes.
And that implies that, they look great sometimes and they look terrible sometimes. Truly top of the game and bottom of the game. Like, they will just bottom out, and it is rough. I totally understand what you're saying. It can feel like a wheel of fortune literally getting just spun like crazy, and you're just hoping that, like, the offense, it lands on, something positive. And the timing of that, as we've seen, last year in the playoffs, year before in the playoffs, that, like, that positivity can go away at any time. And so it can become understandable to look at this as though it's a timing issue. And then certainly that's a factor. Absolutely. So I'm giving you that. Totally.
Oh, thank you.
But I was thinking about this earlier today, and the truth is, the Phillies have been playing some really good ball lately. They have been playing their most fun baseball of the season. You're getting more from areas that were weaknesses not very long ago. And
Weston Wilson is batting .375 since he's been back. Gosh.
You're getting performances that you were waiting to get from guys who were able to do that. You're getting performances from guys that you were just hoping you would maybe get it from, like your Weston Wilsons, and Edmundo Sosa has been playing lights out. The defense has been exquisite lately. Bryson Stott and Edmundo Sosa have been making great plays. JT Realmuto's been gunning down right in that Texas series. He gunned down 2 runners in that 3-2 win that would have changed the game if they had been on base. So that's my point, is that they're finally playing like the team we wanted them to play as all season long, as this kind of like has been up and down. And with this specific Phillies team, it just feels like every time they're playing well, someone steps forward and says, well, they've been playing 500 ball for the last 3 months. And you're like, but how? But how is that possible? They're so good. And then they start sucking again. And you're like, ugh. And they're like, well, did you know that they have the highest OPS since the start of July? And you're like, but how?
You're right. Yes. Oh, you're muted too. The darn mic. You are muted. Wait, let me see if I can help. Here we go.
Sorry,
There we go.
Slammed my hand down and my mic fell off and the cord came out. And
I love the emotion. The emotion is fantastic. It's what we love here at the PST Podcast Show.
But you're just like, how? How is that possible? Yes. That it's just up and down. So I feel like you're never going to have a level of consistency that this, like Trey Turner said the other day, like, oh, we just got to get consistent. And it was like, all right, Trey, when you find consistency, you just let us know, because we've been looking for it for like 3.5 years now.
Right.
It's just not there. So I guess my point is, they're finally playing like the team we wanted them to play as. Why zero in and say, yes, but is it the right time for that?
Right.
It has to be. It has to be, because they're playing that way now. And yes, I totally understand. They're like, oh, early August. What if they're petering out again right when the playoffs start up? You just have to hope that either A, they peter out like at the end of August and then come roaring back in September and hope that the cycle works like that. Or you have to hope, and I think this is kind of what's been happening, that this team has been playing the kind of games and winning the kind of games that make them look more like a playoff team than they have all year. There
That's
have been games where
Yeah.
they have looked incompetent, silly, tired, disengaged, ready to just get on a plane and go to the next series. Plenty of times where they've done that, and you've just had to be like, all right, like I get they're in first place or contending for first place, or like some guys are hitting really well and other guys aren't, or I get it. But like end of the day, you gotta just when they're playing, when things are going as well as they're going, you gotta just accept that and know that yes, finally they are looking like a team that can win in the playoffs. To me, I feel like the last 2-3 weeks, pretty much since the trade deadline, since Duran got here, that you're seeing a team that has done examples of what the playoffs could look like. That Tigers series, potential World Series preview. The Rangers, they're kind of dying out, but they were really hot going into the All-Star break, and that was a team that you were going to have to work to beat too. Clearly, the Phillies had to work to beat. They didn't blow out the Rangers or anything or dominate them in 2 of those 3 wins. So yeah, I think you're seeing a team that's proving we can win close games. We can dance on that razor's edge, and it's not automatically a disaster, because when he points to the bullpen, it's not some like noodle-armed Jordan Romano coming in or something.
Right.
It's people who have been it's Duran with his job. It's the guys behind him who, even the ones who have been struggling, kind of having a better idea of what their role is. And I think that's having a positive effect on everybody. So I'm thinking less about the timing of this success and more about what it says about this team's capabilities.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. And it's a good way to dovetail into this next topic, because I don't think should have concern necessarily about Zach Wheeler and the type of pitcher that he is, type of pitcher he has been, the resiliency that he has shown. We have certainly seen some diminished velocity as of late. This past Sunday, he was able to get his 4-seamer to 95.5 miles per hour, but he's averaged this season 96.2 miles an hour. And he recently had an MRI after some shoulder soreness. Rob Thompson said the MRI came back clean, but I do wonder, and again, this may just be the Phillies fan in me constantly questioning things, constantly overanalyzing things with this team. Again, this is Zach Wheeler. This is Zach Wheeler and what this guy has been able to do from the mound for so many years. I do wonder how much concern you have for Wheeler as we're in this final stretch of the regular season, looking towards the postseason in terms of his velocity and just where he is as he, is nursing obviously something here.
I'd like to talk for a minute about North Korea's nuclear capabilities.
All right, we're going in a different direction real quick here, folks, okay? But I know he's going to dovetail into something.
A couple of years ago, John Oliver was like talking about that. And the point he was making was like, if you lived on 131st Street in New York and you found out that North Korea's nuclear missiles could reach 130th Street, you'd put it completely out of your head, because you're like, all right, well, it's not my problem. And obviously he was talking about it as not necessarily a good thing in that realm where you're able to detach yourself from an issue because it's not impacting you. But in sports, it's almost a healthier mindset to take, where it's like, all right, does Zach Wheeler look like he's hurt? Not like really, but diminished velocity always sets off a lot of alarm bells. Did they get him an MRI? Yes, but it didn't show anything. Is Rob Thompson concerned? Not really, because they asked him, like, how are you going to do anything else to kind of cushion Zach Wheeler moving forward? And he said no, because he's fine. So my point is, we're living on 131st Street here, but in this case, it's a totally healthy thing. Nothing is wrong. Things are maybe a little different, but as far as we know, we are out of the blast zone for a like Zach Wheeler issue. So I'm taking comfort in that. Will we find out in the offseason? Yep, turns out his elbow was just like bone dust by the time like August rolled around, but he was just willing to pitch through it. Yeah, right. I mean, obviously that's unideal. You don't want to hear that. But as of now, I'm chalking this up, and have been, to these guys have been pitching deeper into games than any starting rotation in baseball. They've been pitching better than any starting pitcher. It's any starting rotation in baseball. You're going to get tired arms like exactly now. This is when that happens. Post All-Star break, mid-August, guys who've been pitching 7, 8, 9 innings all year long are going to start to just have some deader arms. And, there's ways you can address that. And I think the Phillies, they know they're pitching, Caleb Cottom has everything under control there. I'm not worried about it. There's a reason their starting rotation became this team's clear, most immense strength. And so I want to see Zach Wheeler pitching with the dominance that he was pitching earlier in the year. I want him hitting the velocity that we know he's capable of hitting. But if he's not doing that, but like medical science is telling us, hey, no, it's nothing wrong here, then I think you got to just address that. Like, Zach Wheeler has a human arm, and it might be, a little less capable right now than it was earlier in the year. And hopefully they can get it back up to where it was before. But the Phillies can also win a game where Zach Wheeler allows 2 or 3 runs instead of 0 or 1. They should be, and they can win that game. So he can still give you a great start, even with lessened velocity. It's just going to be something that freaks people out, because when you get used to like near perfection, any flaw looks like a total red flag. And I don't think it's necessarily a reason to panic. I won't even qualify it with necessarily. I don't think it's a reason to panic. I think the starting pitching is going to remain a strength of this team, and Zach Wheeler is going to remain a part of that strength. It's not something you need to worry about until the MRI comes back and says, he's got a bunch of worms in there. We found out in his arms. It's gross.
Yeah, exactly. Folks, he's Justin Klugh from Baseball Prospectus, the Hittin Season podcast, and also an expert on international ballistic missiles, obviously, with regard to North Korea.
I saw The Rock. I think I got the gist of it.
Yes. I love it. So, I know you're out there on Patreon too, right?
Oh yeah, patreon.com/Hittin Season. You can listen to The Dirty Inning twice a month, our show about the dumbest, funniest, and most obscure innings in Phillies history, as well as Absolutely Hammered, which is a weekly Phillies happy hour with myself, Chris Jones, and Mike Robertson.
Awesome content, folks. But as we're moving along here, I want to get into the bullpen, because we've talked about Johan Duran and what he has meant to the bullpen, being that definitive closer for this team. It's something I absolutely love to see. And many of us fans have just waited such a long time to see this kind of dominance in the 9th inning. I mean, just overall thoughts here, Justin. Like, how are you viewing Duran here, his role, what it means for the postseason here? Because the postseason implications, I think, are huge with this talent coming out of the bullpen. What are your thoughts here with Duran?
Yeah, I mean, this is a character that a lot of Phillies fans probably potentially have never seen. Certainly not pitching in meaningful games. I mean, you were talking about 10 years ago, the whole rebuild era, obviously you had Papelbon like at the beginning of that. And I think we all know he holds most of the top closer stats in Phillies franchise history, which by the end of Duran's deal could ideally now no longer be Papelbon's in the top spot. But the role of elite, intense, top of the game closer has not been filled with the Phillies for quite some time. Obviously your mind goes to Brad Lidge in 2008, not a lot of imperfect seasons following that, but that was like one of the main reasons that team was able to win a World Series, was because they had a closer who couldn't not close the game out for you.
Right.
Like he just didn't do that. The only save he blew all year was in the All-Star game, which is some level of irony that,
right.
But I'd give that up every time. And then
Absolutely.
you have Papelbon, who comes in and just, there's no bigger waste of time than a elite level closer on a team with no games to close. But, he found a way to accumulate those stats. And you generally knew that if any of those 500 or below 500 teams were going into the 9th in a save situation, that, okay, well, they'll probably win this one because we have Jonathan Papelbon. So that is a level of comfort that I had to relearn how to have, that I didn't have to become anxious just because the bullpen gate was moving. And like I said earlier, acquiring a guy like Duran, at the time they're getting him with more years left on his deal, and he's 27 years old. I mean, it's not even like you're the sucker getting a closer as he turns 32 and his arm's about to explode because he's been throwing 110 miles an hour for the last 3 years. Like, they're getting him right when you want to get a closer like that.
Yeah.
So much value. And the way that relaxes or takes the pressure off, at least other members of the bullpen who are more suited for other roles, that's such a benefit. That makes it so I was somebody who was disappointed at first when they announced, okay, we're addressing the outfield with Harrison Bader. And my exact thoughts were, if that's all you were going to do for the outfield, I'd have rather you just acquired the Harrison Bader equivalent for the bullpen, as in addition to Duran,
Right.
just to give yourself more options, more weapons out there. Because 40-year-old David Robertson, whatever, Jose Alvarado, what are his motivations going to be coming back? But now some of those questions are kind of answered, and the Phillies, Rob Thompson, were a little more open about what people's jobs were going to be moving forward, because guess what? There's a closer, and there's no question that he's a closer. He is the closer. He can throw
I like defined roles in the bullpen.
Yeah.
I just do.
He can throw 103 miles an hour. He can get 3 hitters out. That's all you're asking him to do, and that's it. Great. He has a job. That means everybody else kind of gets a job too. And Thompson was like, for those late innings, those setup roles, we're going to be looking at Alvarado. We're going to be looking at Strom. We're going to be looking at Kerkering. Then he described David Robertson as like a middle relief guy. And I was like, you know what? That's great. That's great. I mean, it's David Robertson, whatever. But like that, you're sitting here saying that, and not that like, we're going to give Robertson some chances and he's going to like get some high leverage. I don't want that. I don't want that. And I'm glad he was able to say like, and so he's going to be doing middle relief. If we need a righty, Tanner Banks will be doing middle relief. If we need a lefty, and he was just laying it out. Like, this is the plan moving forward. And I think those guys really benefit from that as well. So you have a much better idea moving forward of what the bullpen's going to look like. And that makes them all the better. So they didn't have to go get some other mid-range reliever just to spice things up, because they got the guy that kind of shuffled the bullpen back into a more productive space.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, buddy, before I let you go, one final topic as we're closing out this podcast episode this week. I'm wondering what you think the biggest challenge is going to be for this Phillies team as we're starting to wrap up the regular season, as this team is possibly going to be, hopefully, I should say, getting to the NLCS, maybe the World Series. There's a lot of high hopes out there for that. What do you think the biggest challenge is going to be for this team towards the end of the season, heading into the postseason here?
The biggest challenge for the Phillies in 2025 is going to be me. I will be hiding in closets and high shelves and jumping down and startling them to keep them on their toes in the home stretch.
Fantastic.
I have a large, lanky body. It's going to be difficult to fit myself into some of these crevices, but I will be making sure they are always ready for an ambush at all times. No.
Waldo, are you going to be dressed up as anything, or are they just going to know it's Justin Klugh right in front
Sometimes I'm just wearing the Fanatic head. Sometimes I'm just wearing the Fanatic body with no head. You're never going to know what's about to come around the corner. No. I think the answer to your question now, here we are in year 4 of this core group of what is presumed and in all likelihood going to be the 4th straight playoff appearance. And, I don't need to lay this out for everybody. Year 1, but I will. Year 1, they go to the World Series and lose, and you're just like, okay, well, this was maybe not a surprise, but like their success that going that far was kind of like this abrupt thrill. So you get a lot of goodwill from that. And the assumption is, okay, well, you got all the way there last year. You can do it again. Obviously they failed to do that. That doesn't mean that those teams were worse or they got worse. It just means you still have something to prove. And as the years have gone by, there's just one thing left for this team to prove, which is of course to win the World Series. And they are looking like a team more recently that can do that. And so I'm kind of not looking at specific aspects of the team like offense, starting pitching, bullpen anymore, because like I said, I think the bullpen's in the best spot it's been all year long in 2025. Starting rotation has never been a huge concern, even though they've had some bumps and bruises and hiccups and issues along the way. They've still remained the best set of pitchers that you're going to put out there. And I honestly am willing to say that a fully rested and fully healthy Aaron Nola could be a really big benefit to this team moving forward. So I'm not worried about that. And the offense has shown that also they know how to hit. They know how to score more than one inning per game. They've got a couple of really hot hitters. They have other hitters who have been hot at other points during the season and can get hot again. They've got productive hitters from productive performances from guys like Weston Wilson. So they know they can get the offense they need. That's not a super concern either. Not like the Rangers, who are so defensively and pitching strong, but just are not getting any offense from anyone in particular. And it's really costing them everything. The Phillies don't have like a big issue like that anymore, I think, since the trade deadline and what they were able to acquire. So what the Phillies' biggest challenge is going into September and October is going to be the past. Like that's the recent past. They need to get over the fact that, yeah, I mean, they didn't do it in 22. They shot themselves in the leg in 23, and then they went in with absolutely no juice in 24. They got to find whatever it is that makes them a playoff team going into the playoffs and be that team. I know that sounds like broad and kind of crazy, but I feel like they would probably tell you the same thing.
There
That,
you
like,
go.
at this point, Dombrowski's done what he's going to do. The guys who are going to do what's going to happen are here.
Yes.
You're a bunch of really good players. In some cases, some of the best in the league. I say this every time they play a completely beatable team like the Rockies or the Orioles. There's no reason for this team to lose any of these games. Like there will and could be reasons for sure, because baseball is crazy and it's just a giant mess sometimes, and you can't plan for everything, and you certainly can't control everything. But the Phillies are set up to do the one thing they haven't done for the last 3 years and have been totally capable of doing in each 3 attempts. It's just getting over that reputation, that, mental hurdle of, okay, here we go again. The fact that ever since opening day 2023, people have just been wanting to speed run through the regular season and get back to the part where we're like, okay, this is the level we're stuck on. Like it's a video game. Like, let's just get back to the save point that we were at and move forward there. That's all people are waiting to see. So getting over like that and the bigness of that is this team's biggest challenge, because I don't think any particular facet of this team is guaranteed to be its undoing in the weeks ahead.
Again, folks, he is Justin Klugh from Baseball Prospectus, the Hittin Season podcast. Head on over to Patreon and search out the Hittin Season podcast. You'll get the Absolutely Hammered pod as well as the Dirty Inning pod. Great content over there. My friend, it was great talking to you. Always appreciate and love your insights as it pertains to this Phillies team. Come back and join us down the road. I'd love to have you back on.
Happy to be here. I'll come back for the playoffs. We'll have a nice rational playoff discussion come October.